If you don't already have expertise in AI or machine learning, or if you don't have 5 to 8 years of your time to waste away learning, trying to get into machine learning research in 2024 is a waste of your time. So probably if you'd like to get into research, you have one of two things in mind. Either you're doing it for the money and you just want to get a well-paying job somewhere, or you just really like the idea of being a scientist and doing science, doing AI, and advancing the knowledge. But whichever way you go, you will probably end up wanting to do it in one of these companies. Or maybe you would like to go into one of these startups instead. But even many of these are basically just subsidiaries for the big companies, and some of them are already bought out, like for example Inflection was bought up by Microsoft. And I'm pretty sure others will follow later anyway. Basically, the industry has already started consolidating, so probably if you'd enter this field, you would end up working for one of these large companies anyway. So why are your options so limited? Well, of course, research costs money, and basically, as the models get bigger and bigger, in the end, only these large companies will have enough capital and enough human resources to do this research, to pay for the compute. There's maybe a couple exceptions to this, like maybe Stanford or some other universities actually have enough resources, but smaller ones definitely don't have those. And most probably this consolidation is only getting worse because the money is kind of starting to run dry, and that's also why we see this consolidation, because the startups and the newcomers don't have as much easy money to access for unlimited amounts of training. So at the same time, we see that the amount of papers related to machine learning and AI is exploding. So roughly every 2.5 years, the amount of submissions to these AI conferences doubles. So that's every 2.5 years, there's double as many people writing these papers and trying to get into the research community. And again, this is roughly the amount of companies that you are gonna go into. And all of those new people are also wanting to go into these companies. So the amount of positions is not gonna keep up with the supply of people who wanna join this field. So unfortunately, I think if you're trying to get in now, you're just wasting your time basically. And this is basically a classical case of elite overproduction. People see that there is some new lucrative thing to do, and everybody wants to do the same thing. And there are even sometimes institutions like universities to support people getting into this thing. But at the end of the pipeline, people will just have to realize that what they were promised is not what they're actually gonna get, because there's too many people trying to become elites. So I spent most of my 2023 actually trying to learn how to train ML models. And I wish somebody had told me this before I started any of this learning, because then I could have basically wasted less of my time and energy on learning skills that don't really matter or are not actually all that valuable in the end. I also wrote this blog post, which goes more into detail about my experience, a little bit about my research, and more on this topic in general. I'm gonna leave a link in the description if you want to read more. So in 2023, I basically spent 9 months just training small models, doing a lot of the basic learning, doing a lot of mistakes. And I eventually found an actually very interesting novel result. And I decided to write a paper about it. So here it is, my first paper. I think it's pretty good. I submitted it to a little bit of an easier conference because it was my first paper and I didn't want to spend too much effort on the writing part. But I think the results are actually pretty interesting. And if you are in this field, I think there are some things you can learn from this. But of course, unfortunately, this paper didn't really go anywhere. I didn't really get anything from writing it. Nobody has contacted me. It has not been cited by anybody. I don't know if anybody has even read it. And this kind of comes back to the fact that there's just so many damn papers published these days. And if the number just keeps going up and up, there's going to be less and less discoverability for new papers and new work and new interesting results. People aren't just gonna go and read your paper if you are nobody. And to be honest, I'm basically no closer to landing one of these lucrative positions that we talked about earlier in these top companies. Maybe I'm a little bit closer because I have more skills now, but honestly, I believe it's not that relevant for my ability to get these positions. And this is kind of like not like how things are, for example, in software engineering, because in software engineering, you just need to know some skills and then you get hired. And another reason I'm not really any closer to landing one of these positions is just the crazy amount of competition in the field right now. So a lot of these people publishing right now are students with more experience. Some of them have more skills. Most of them have more time to network, publish, interview, all of this stuff. And I don't really have those 5 to 8 years to just make a name for myself in AI research. Nor do I actually want to do that. Personally, I don't think it's worth it, but your mileage may vary. And I just wanted to post this in case I can persuade some people to maybe think of other options in their careers. I can say that if I was entering uni at the moment, I would definitely go with more traditional computer science instead of AI machine learning specialization. Like, for example, distributed systems knowledge is still required for training these huge AI models. You would just be coming at the field from a little bit different angle, and maybe you would have more of something valuable to give. I'm doing just fine now. I feel like I realized kind of in time that the research is not very good for me. I did spend some time on it, but it's not like catastrophic for me. And after quitting research, I made this pretty cool video editor that I'm also gonna use for editing this video. And I can still do sort of AI related stuff. Of course, I'm not doing model training, I'm not doing peer research, even though I do kind of like the idea, but it's just too difficult at this time. So that's it. Thank you for watching and subscribe for more.